you for subscribing. If you have not subscribed it, kindly click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon. And now we are going to start a series of lectures on pharmacology related to the cardiovascular system. And especially in this video, we are going to learn about the congestive heart failure and its treatment. And the congestive heart failure is mainly of two types, the acute variant and the chronic variant. The acute variant patients are mostly presented in the emergency room, so we have to give the treatment very quick, or else the patient may also die. But the chronic patients, they usually do not take the treatment and they skip the treatment, and in the long run their heart has been remodeled, and hence they will be presenting with a massive left ventricular failure. Okay, so in this video especially we will be discussing about the acute congestive heart failure. First, a small wrap up of the pathogenesis, that is, in the left ventricle, if there is a failure of the left ventricle, the blood cannot be pumped further into the aorta, and hence the blood gets accumulated, and the accumulated blood keeps the backward pressure to the left atrium. Through the left atrium, it reaches into the lungs, and in the lungs the blood gets accumulated. So in this way, if a person has a left ventricular failure, then there will be pulmonary edema. In the same way, if the patient has a right ventricular failure, then the blood which is getting accumulated here will be pumped back into the right atrium, and from the right atrium it will be pushed to the superior vena cava, which increases the jugular venous pressure, and the blood also pushes into the inferior vena cava. So the superior vena cava increases the jugular venous pressure, JVP, and the inferior vena cava, it reaches into the liver, and in the liver the blood gets accumulated, and hence the right ventricular failure presents to you with two main symptoms: increase in the JVP and the hepatomegaly. Okay, so in this pathogenesis, what do you understand? There is more accumulation of the fluid. So the main problems in the congestive heart failure are two. There is more fluid, and the heart function or pumping activity is decreased. So what do you have to do as a doctor? You have to decrease the fluid. So you have to remove the excess fluid from the body. For this we use diuretics, and to increase the pumping action or the inotropic action, you use the inotropes, the inotropic drugs. Okay, so first, regarding the diuretics, we will discuss more deeply in the renal pharmacology, but let us remember few points here. That is, you have to remember mainly two types of diuretics: loop diuretics, thiazide diuretics. The loop diuretics are the strongest diuretics. Okay, they are very strong and they are short acting. So when the patient with acute congestive heart failure presents to the emergency room, you need a drug that acts very fast. Am I right? Yes. So the loop diuretics acts shortly and it is very strong, and that's why it is used in congestive heart failure. But the thiazide diuretics, they are weak and long acting, and hence they are used in hypertension. Another important point is the loop diuretics loses calcium. Loop loses calcium means there is a decrease in the calcium levels. So opposite to that, in the thiazide there is an increase in calcium. The common side effects of the loop and thiazide diuretics are there is a decrease in all the electrolytes, mainly sodium, potassium, protons and magnesium, leading to the metabolic alkalosis. So a quick wrap up on this slide is two types of congestive heart failure: acute, chronic. The acute variant, if a person with left ventricular presents with pulmonary edema, and the right ventricular failure patient presents with the increase in JVP and the hepatomegaly. The main two problems are excess fluid and decreased pumping activity. So we have to decrease the excess fluid and increase the pumping activity. We use diuretics, inotropes. Regarding diuretics, two types: loop, thiazides. And the loop are strong, short. Main side effects are electrolyte imbalance, and main MCQ asked is regarding the calcium. So a mnemonic to remember is loop loses calcium, so decreased calcium. This is all about the diuretics. And after this, you have to increase the contractility or pumping action of the heart. So you need inotropes. So there are mainly three types of inotropes you have to remember regarding the acute congestive heart failure. That is the beta-1 agonist, the beta-1 agonist, the phosphodiesterase inhibitor, and the digoxin or the digitalis, which we learn further. These three are the main inotropes. First, let us understand the mechanism here. Suppose this is the cell, a myocardial cell, which is taken from a heart, and the most common receptor which is present on the heart is beta-1 receptor. So to increase the pumping activity, you have to stimulate the beta-1 receptor. So first you have to stimulate. When you stimulate, this receptor signals the G protein coupled receptor and it increases the cyclic AMP. So when the cyclic AMP is increased, there is an increase of the pumping or inotropic action. So what is the drug you can use? You can stimulate this, but the cyclic AMP which is increased is not always increased. Later on, gradually, due to the presence of the phosphodiesterase enzyme, the cyclic AMP gets degraded. In this congestive heart failure, you need to have the inotropic action. Means you want the cyclic AMP, you want your friend to stay with you. So if you want your friend to stay with you, you want to kill the enemy. Here the enemy is phosphodiesterase is the enemy. So you want to get the friend and you also want to kill the enemy. Here the one which activates the beta-1 receptor is your friend, and your another you have to save your another friend also, that is the cyclic AMP. For that you have to kill the enemy phosphodiesterase enzyme. So first, to get your new friends, that is beta-1 agonist, they are your friends that activate the beta-1 receptor. There are mainly four types of beta-1 agonist, that is dopamine, dobutamine, noradrenaline, and isoprenaline. A small wrap up from the autonomic nervous system. The dopamine acts on D1, beta-1, alpha-1. So all ones, okay, all one, D1, beta-1, alpha-1. And the dobutamine only acts on beta-1. See, dobutamine, you are stressing the letter B. In the same way, B1. Noradrenaline, NA, means not all. So it does not stimulate all receptors, but it stimulates alpha-1, alpha-2 and beta-1, and beta-2 is not stimulated. Isoprenaline, beta-1 and beta-2. So each of these drugs has its stimulation activity, but only if you want to stimulate beta-1 we use dobutamine, and if you want to stimulate other receptors also we use other kinds of drugs. So only selective beta-1 is dobutamine. Okay, so you got your friend, and now what you have to do, you want to kill your enemy in order to save your friend. So to kill your enemy, none of the enemy, do you need enemies? No, none of your enemies must be present. So in the same way, the drugs also ends with the none. Amrinone and the milrinone are your main drugs which kill your enemy. Okay, so phosphodiesterase inhibitors are amrinone and milrinone. But there is a problem. These both beta-1 agonist and the phosphodiesterase inhibitor, they increase the heart rate, increase the conduction, and also increase the inotropic action. You need only inotropic action. You don't want your heart rate to be increased. If your heart rate is increased, there is a chance of arrhythmia also. So these two are unwanted actions, but you need only this one. In this way, we again go to other kind of drug which produces only the inotropic action. And a small side effect here is the phosphodiesterase enzyme inhibitor. We have it on heart and also the blood vessel. On the blood vessel, when this phosphodiesterase enzyme is inhibited, it leads to the vasodilation. That's why there is another name given, inodilator. When the right heart is failed, the drug of choice will be inodilator, because in the right heart failure, what we have understood is, when the right heart is failed, there is a backward of the blood to the superior vena cava and also inferior vena cava. So you want these blood vessels to get dilated. So then you will use the phosphodiesterase inhibitor which dilates your vessels. So I think I am clear up to the part of first two inotropes, and the next and the last inotrope which you use in acute congestive heart failure is digitalis. Digitalis is mainly two types, digoxin and digitoxin. And here why we have highlighted the word toxin is, toxin means you have to remember the liver. So digitoxin is mainly excreted through the liver, and hence this is contraindicated in hepatic patients or liver failure patients. But digoxin is excreted through the kidney, and hence this is contraindicated in renal patients. Okay, this is the main two difference. In the market right now, digitoxin is withdrawn, only digoxin is present. Okay, what is the mechanism of action of digoxin is, you have a cell, in the cell you have sodium potassium ATPase, am I right? Yes. So when the digitalis or digoxin is given to a patient, when this channel is blocked, the sodium from the cell cannot go outside the cell. So the inside cell sodium gets accumulated, and there will be a rise of sodium inside the cell. Hence even this channel is also indirectly blocked by digitalis. So when these both channels are blocked, we have another channel, an L-type calcium channel. Through this, a small amount, a 5% or a 10% of the calcium enters into the cell, and it enters into the cell, it activates the ryanodine receptors here, because the calcium is present inside the sarcoplasma reticulum. So inside from the sarcoplasmic reticulum, if you want this calcium to get outside, you need to stimulate the ryanodine receptors. When you stimulate, the calcium from inside gets outside the cell, and after it reaches here, it produces the contraction. So why we are using the digitalis? We need contraction. So the calcium from here came out, and it produces the contraction. After some time, your cell or muscle must also relax. So if you want to relax again, this calcium is again taken back to the sarcoplasmic reticulum with the help of sarcoplasmic or endoplasmic reticulum calcium ATPase, that is SERCA. With the help of SERCA, the calcium is again taken back. So in this period, the muscle relaxes. So in this way, there will be more increase in the contractility. So now 10% of the calcium stimulated, again more calcium released, again in the another cycle more calcium entered, again more calcium is released. In this way, there is an increase in the calcium inside the cytoplasm. So in the final one, there will be an increase in contractility, but there is a safe effect is, the heart rate is not increased when you give digitalis, so it saves you. But the first two drugs, they increase the heart rate, but the digitalis doesn't increase the heart rate. Hope this mechanism is clear. Just remember, we have two types of channels, sodium potassium ATPase and the sodium calcium exchanger. They both are blocked, and small calcium entered, it stimulated, rise in calcium, rise in the cytoplasmic calcium, increases the contractility. This is the mechanism of action. And even this digoxin has another effect, that is vagomimetic effect. Vagos means it is a parasympathetic action. There is no sympathy on the heart. That's why there is a decrease in the heart rate and decrease in the conduction. Okay, so we have another problem, because when the digitalis is given, for small time, the conduction from the SA node and the AV node is not given. The conduction does not pass from the SA node to the AV node. When this conduction is not passed, then there is an increased sympathetic activity which may lead to the atrial fibrillation. Atrial fibrillation is nothing but, the word fibrillation means it is the ineffective contractions. There is no proper contractility. There is a fast contraction. Normally your heart 60 to 80 beats per minute. But in the atrial fibrillation, it beats 400 to 500 beats per minute. So in order to manage this situation, your main aim is to decrease the ventricular rate. That is, when the atrias are fibrillating, when they are fluctuating, and then later on, after some time, even your ventricles get fibrillated. So you have to first prevent the ventricular rate. That's why the aim of management in the atrial fibrillation will be to decrease the ventricular rate. Okay, so the only inotropic drug which can be given per oral is digoxin. The O indicates you for oral. Okay, and few side effects you have to remember are, so they may ask the most common side effect of the digoxin is, it is nausea or vomiting as for other drugs also. And the most common arrhythmia we can see is ventricular bigeminy. This is mainly associated with digoxin. And the most specific arrhythmia which you can see is, it is non-paroxysmal atrial tachycardia with AV block. This is a main important MCQ regarding the adverse effect of digoxin. Even digoxin can produce gynecomastia. And a small recap is, gynecomastia means you have to remember the disco drugs. DI means digoxin, S for spironolactone, C for cimetidine. Okay, just to remember, you can remember it as a cement. And O for estrogens. And also another side effect is yellow vision, that is xanthopsia. And the last but not the least topic is digitalis toxin. If there is, because most of the people doesn't know how to manage the dosage of the digoxin. So if the more digoxin is given, then it may lead to digitalis toxicity. And the factors which increase the toxicity of digitalis is mainly divided into three types: the metabolic, drugs, and the pathological. In the metabolic, when there is an increase in the calcium inside the blood, that is hypercalcemia, then we have more precipitation of the digitalis toxicity. And also when you have hypokalemia or hypomagnesemia, also it is associated with digitalis toxicity. The drugs which is related or associated with this toxicity you can remember by the Queen for quinidine, and the V for verapamil, A for amiodarone, T for thiazides. In the pathological variant, I already said we have two types in the digitalis group: digoxin and digitoxin. Digoxin excreted through the kidney, digitoxin excreted through the liver. So this is contraindicated in renal failure and it is contraindicated in hepatic failure. How do you manage this toxicity? Find the cause and then you can treat. If it is metabolic problem, then you can correct this electrolytical imbalance and you can treat the digitalis toxicity. Okay, if it is associated with any drugs, just stop the drugs, then automatically it can be treated. Or is it related with pathological variant? You have to treat the cause, that's it. And when the main drug of choice here is lignocaine or phenytoin. And nowadays we find a drug that is digibind. So this binds with the digitoxin or digoxin and then it removes from the body. So this is used in severe poisoning. Okay, this is all about the acute congestive heart failure. And quickly in 1 minute I will just make a recap. Is the congestive heart failure acute variant, we have mainly left ventricular problem and right ventricular problem. If we have excess fluid, we use diuretics, the loop and the thiazide diuretics. And we also use three main inotropic drugs: beta-1 agonist, phosphodiesterase inhibitors, and digitalis group of drugs. In the beta-1 we have mainly four types which we have already discussed, and phosphodiesterase enzyme is your enemy, so you have to kill your enemy. None of your enemy must be present. That's why you use this non drugs, that is amrinone and milrinone. Okay, and the digitoxin has two types, digoxin and digitoxin. So there is no rise in the heart rate. And also we have the main concept of the digitalis toxicity is also clear. Thank you viewers for watching. Do like the video, share and subscribe to Medico Virally. If you want to join any of the social media networks of Medico Virally, all the links are provided in the description. Click the link and get subscribed. Thank you.